Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome to another edition of Prime Hour on my Media Prime, an edition that is dedicated to looking at the difficulties with which Cameroonians are going through to obtain a national ID card. So many persons have expressed their frustrations. Others asked to pay so much money, and also the very, very long time it takes to finally get in possession of a national ID card. What is happening in Cameroon? This has been ongoing for years, and many are wondering why it has been difficult to fix the problem. We also, if time permits, are going to be looking at these tenets of tribalism and regionalism, looking at their implications on our development as a nation. Are we naturally very, very divisive in our nature as Cameroonians, where we find Cameroonians patronizing a credit union simply because it is coming from their village? They will travel with a travel agency owned by someone from their tribe or village. They will also want to belong and defend a political party simply because the head of that party comes from their tribe or region. We are discussing these two topics with our panelists who are in the house. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa, our permanent consultant, is in the house with us. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to Cameroonians, and good evening to all the very sharp-minded panelists we have here today.
We also are in the company of Dr. Michael Ndimancho. He's a lecturer with some of our universities across Cameroon. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening to all Cameroonians, especially those who are suffering out of loss of identity in our country, Cameroon, and they're supposed to belong. Good evening.
We are also in the company of Prof. Mark Anthony, who is a Panafricanist. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Leo. Good evening to my fellow panelists and to Cameroonians watching us this particular evening. I think discussing ID cards in Cameroon is a necessary topic for this season, considering the pains a lot of Cameroonians go through in a time like this. After having gone for the biometric ID card, you are supposed to have 3 months as a statutory period, but it is surprising how some people go for 2 years. So that we are going to be discussing about today.
We also are in the company of Mr. Tazi Paul, who is an expert, a maritime expert. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, and thank you for inviting me again. It is our pleasure to be here to share opinions on this very pertinent issue. It's a very big headache for Cameroonians. I mean, when you drive past police stations and you see the mammoth crowd before police stations struggling to make ID card, it's like you begin to ask yourself what is actually going on now.
We have a lone lady on our panel this evening, Jokem Quinivet Kaah, who is a militant and executive of the Popular Action Party. She's going to be contributing through Skype from Yaoundé, the nation's capital. Good evening, Quinivet, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to my co-panelists. Good evening to all Cameroonians watching us home and abroad. It's a pleasure to be a part of your platform once again. I want to say a warm good evening to all the PAP militants and well-wishers of Cameroon.
Thank you very much. We're going to be coming back to you, Quinivet. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. This is not new to Cameroonians. It's been on for so many years. Why has it been difficult for this ID card issue to be fixed and done with?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, this ID card challenge has been a very serious challenge for a very long time. My problem is we should go back to the period before this period, how we used to have ID cards in Cameroon. I remember as a young man going to secondary school in those days to write ordinary levels, I needed to do the national ID card. I was taken to a local police station around my neighborhood, and a carton was produced with an instant ID card. I think by then the decentralization was more of it was more implicated or applied than what we are seeing today, because in those days you could just go to a nearby police station, Bamenda, Boya, Limbe, you are out with your ID card. But when things turn around, You needed to travel to Yaoundé to go and do ID cards in Yaoundé, and then issues came up with double identification, date of birth, and all these things put together. Before they will correct that identification, I think what they needed was to go and check your primary school to find out the date you used in primary school. But this time around, you'll be paying the sum of 250,000, 300,000 francs to have ID card, which is a document that is your right as a citizen in this country. And funny thing is that as the days are going by, it's becoming very complicated. So bad so that I was wondering if at all this mechanism they have put now, that is some kind of European countries that are doing our ID card, is far more better than what our police inspector used to do for us in those days at nearby police stations, and you could just easily run there. Nevertheless, it's been like that for some time now, and it's getting bad, or even worse, that you can easily get a passport, but you cannot get an ID card. And without an ID card, you cannot get a passport. So they're trying to let us understand that you can reach heaven without passing through the clouds. And they are making the way to heaven very complicated. So to us, passport is easier, which is an external document, than the document we use internally. And you cannot use passport effectively in this country because it's considered as a document to travel out of the country. But the ID card is used in almost every domain in the country, and it is what we use for circulation. Sometimes it becomes even more complicated. According to the laws of Cameroon, your driver's license, your passport are documents you can use to circulate within the country. But in some control stations, police stations, you all controlled by the roadside, you use your passport and present it. They will tell you that it's not a document to circulate within the country. That is an international document you use to fly out of the country. I wonder if the person in the passport is another person in the ID card, and the name in the passport is the one that is not in the ID card. So all these inconveniences, the problem is now the amount of money that some of these personalities ask to collect to correct that date, to correct that the name, if the name was not properly spelled. And sometimes the failure of the name is sometimes right at the level of the birth certificate. You give your name sometime to somebody at the civil city registry, they will spell it wrongly. And once they give it spelled wrong, you go and do an ID card. Once you want to correct it, now they say you have double identification. Double identification, how? That the person who had the other name does not have the same fingerprint. Because no fingerprint does not change. So how is it that somebody has the same fingerprint and another name, so it's double identification? Something is not right somewhere. It's just a means to siphon money out of people's pocket, and I think we are here to address those things. Because if I did my ID card with Ambe Ngwa chair, and then I use my fingerprint, and then the next ID card I did Ngwa chair Ambe with the same fingerprint, what should be traced is my fingerprint. What makes you a criminal in this country is when you lost your fingerprint, not when your name is misspelled.
And your picture is there.
Your picture is there. Your picture is there, and your fingerprint is there. But they will tell you the name is not correct.
Okay.
The age is not correct.
Yes, Dr. Ndimancho, we are talking about the difficulty to obtain this basic document that is very valuable for Cameroonians. But what is making issues the more difficult is the possibility to move around Cameroon without a valid identification card. It is very difficult to obtain one because it takes so much time, and also very difficult to move with your driver's license, your passport, or the electoral card. Yes, the electoral card. You show all of these things. A policeman will say, "I want to." Those things, do they not identify one?
Well, let us first of all know exactly what is the role of an ID card. You know, an ID card shows a sense of belonging to a nation. When we look at things like voters' cards, passports, driver's license, they have specific functions, and therefore we cannot confuse between those three. I think that they are right. If they ask for an identification paper, which is the national identity card, which of course shows your total belonging to a nation, your link to a nation, that is what you should produce. A driver on the way, you are asked your driver's license, and that specifically, that's what you should show. You are traveling abroad, you are asked for a passport, that's what you should show. I don't think that the two really should be confused. But now, you see, Cameroon is like marching into modernism, and things are becoming much more difficult for Cameroonians. Because we used to have the other ID cards that were, stopped in 2016, because this company Thales came up in 2016, and they came up with this new ID card. And the reason that the Cameroon government, the Delegate General for National Security, gave Cameroonians was that they wanted to strengthen security. And by security, they mean that there has been a lot of identity theft and document fraud with the old ID cards, because it could not easily be detected. So, now they brought this new biometric identity card that was supposed to help Cameroonians. And of course, it's supposed to be what we say computerized. It means that what? What we say computerized, it means that sometimes if your ID card is expired, you don't need to go and stand again somewhere and stand in line and start doing some of those documents from origin. Because what happens is that when your ID card expires, you have to go and start from afresh and start doing all those document, court declaration, and all of those things at fresh. But the question we ask is, what is now the reason for that issue of computerization of identity cards? Now, we have realized that the hurdles that people have with ID card is also the issue of centralization of production. You know, we have production only in Yaoundé, and what happened is that so many people produce ID cards per day, and it appears as if the production center is overwhelmed by the number of people seeking for identity cards. Given to the fact that there is a lot of fraud and corruption going on in Cameroon, there are most people who come and they want to do the ID card the very day, and they prefer to take those ID cards very day and take much money from them rather than those who have done in a region and sent to them. And they have been pending for months and for months, and they have not had it. So that is what is happening with Cameroon, and it's actually something we have to address on this. I hope that somebody is listening to us today, because that's a secret that people do not know. People want to, and you see, we know, we accept the fact that there are cats lying all over fallow in most of these places. But we have said that this is a loophole that we have in Cameroon. When you produce a cat, I'm sure you are given, you write your telephone number. In a modern country, if your cat is out, you are supposed to send you an SMS to let you know that your cat is available. All those cards that they project to us that they are fallow in most of these police identification centers, I don't think because most people, they even go there and they are not able to identify. The police people are not even welcoming to let these people check out their cards. But they keep on flashing those cards and let us know that, because from what I have gotten, there are about 245,000 cards that are just lying there and the people have not collected. Now, they keep on telling us about a fraud, that double identity, as Apostle Ambe said. And I hear that they have detected about 3 million double identities in the production of cards in Cameroon. 3 million. That's what the Delegate General of National Security said, that 3 million double identities have been detected. And we're asking ourselves, double identity? Well, we could understand one fact, that there are, a lot of people are involved in forgery. And that sometimes it is not just about, misspelling of a name. We know about village clerks, what they do, they misspell your name. But I don't think it's not just about that. It is about most Cameroonians wanting to change. They have involved into so many issues, and then they want to change their identity and put something. That one I understand. It is actually something that is happening in Cameroon, that many people, go and they want to change their identity. So I think that these are the issues that we can address. And I don't know why this should be an explanation why the people's identity cards are not being actually issued to them. So I think that it is this aspect. An identity card is that precious kind of a goal that it's the right of each and every Cameroonian citizen to have. And you are not even supposed to stress up to have this identity card. I think that the government is supposed to facilitate these things for these people to have, because for you to be able to do bank transaction, you need an identity card. For you to do official document, you need an ID card. For you to go around Cameroon, you need an identity card. I think that this is one of the primordial basic, let me call it the basic necessity of every Cameroonian, that the government is supposed to fight. It's like water and electricity that are basic commodities. I think an identity card is supposed to be a basic document that each and every Cameroonian is supposed to have.
Okay, Jokem, Quinivet, it is so basic and very important, because one will hardly do anything in Cameroon without an ID card. How do we understand that for years we have been in this same situation, yet very difficult to solve? Like Dr. Ndimancho is saying, quoting the Delegate General for National Security, that we have almost 3 million cases of double identity. What do we do to fix the issues? Do we abandon 3 million persons not to have ID cards because they have double identity, or look for a quick way to fix the issue?
Thank you, Mr. Leonard, for giving me the opportunity to chip in what I think concerning this ID card issue. You know, the ID card is a very important document, as important as the birth certificate. This is a document that is indispensable because it is required of every Cameroonian. There is practically no place you will go to within the borders of this country that your ID card will not be requested. And this implies that every Cameroonian, every citizen of this country has the right, is supposed to have access, unlimited access, undenied access to their ID card. But then, you know, when we see that having an ID card is as difficult, or should I even say more difficult than having a job in Cameroon, it's shocking, it's baffling. The system has been so centralized, so concentrated, that I'm left with practically no choice, no other options than to blame the ones responsible for the production of ID cards. You know, a passport is practically possible to have within the space of, is it 7 days, 7 to 8, let me say 1 week, you have your passport ready in your hands, you can use it. But we are talking about an ID card which is smaller in volume than a passport. We're talking about an ID card which is a daily requirement. Here in the Central Region, you need to see police officers at control points or at whatever control points that they create. They stop taxis, they interrogate people, where is your ID card? Why don't you have an ID card? You know, they behave as if individuals have the responsibility to produce these ID cards. You go to a station, you deposit documents, you stand there in the sun for long hours, which is another aspect that I will come to. You stand in the sun for long hours or in the rain, filling forms, and the police, the responsible ones for the process, they are making mistakes on the procedures, on the names and all of that. And at the end of 6 months, 7 months, some people go even as long as 1 year without obtaining this identification, this very important identification document. And back on the streets, they are intercepted, they are held responsible for not having them. This spells a lot of unseriousness, because Cameroonians, to the best of my knowledge, do not have the right to produce ID cards for themselves. How do we, as Cameroonians, how do we get ourselves out of this situation? Everything is centralized. Everything happens in Yaoundé. Yaoundé knows the start and the end of the whole story of ID cards. You see, it's really a shame. You have your passport, which is a more cumbersome document, like I said, but it is possible for you to have that. So what process are they using to produce passports that they cannot use to produce ID cards? It's a question that, I don't know, it's a rhetoric for the responsible people, for the ones that are responsible. I call them responsible people in quotes, because it is actually a great sign of irresponsibility to deprive the people of a document that is theirs by right.
Okay.
A document that is theirs by right. I said the ID card is as important as a person's birth certificate. And then, you know, we come back to this point where they say that about 3 million double identity and all of that. Who are the ones that have the format for production of ID cards? And if this, because, you know, this is something that has been monopolized. There is just a particular a circuit that handles the production of ID cards. And then when they are the same people that start complaining that over 3 million Cameroonians have double identity, it proves that there are lots of loopholes in the system. You know, we are in a country where the statesmen, the stakeholders have vehemently refused to follow the train of modernization, to follow the train of civilization. They have decided to remain in the crypts and in the grasp of history. They don't want to evolve. They don't want to move from there. In 2022 that we are today, we're still having a lot of paperwork being done. Just like the servant of God was saying earlier on, there, you fill documents today to produce an ID card, and then when it expires and you have to go and renew it, it is the same you with your same name and everything. They're supposed to have a computerized system which automatically fills the dates. If this ID card has been existing from this time to this time, and at this time this person had this age, it means that by this year 2022, this same individual now is this number of years old. But no, you have to go filling papers and filling them, and then after 6 months or however, whatever time, you go back there and they tell you it seems like the document got mixed up, got missing. They can't find your file and all of that. It's a shame. It's a shame to see that. Yes, Mr. Leonard.
Yeah, we'll be coming back to you, Prof. Are we also faced with this because of the over-centralized system with which these ID cards are produced? Specific companies given the contracts to do this, which is even a foreign company, and they are charged to do this instead of decentralizing it to the real police guys to handle the job.
You know, Mr. Leo, it is insulting to begin with to consider that our identification cards are produced by a foreign company, which is supposed to be, like everyone here has actually mentioned, a basic necessity for the movement of every Cameroonian within the territory. Funny enough is the fact that you can't do anything in Cameroon. If you want to own a bank account, you need an ID card. If you want to travel, you need an ID card. Everything you need to do in Cameroon, you need an ID card. And we centralized the production and was of it limited to a particular group of individuals or a company, and was
ID cards for persons who are in Kuseri must be produced in Yaoundé.
Yes. Yes. It is whether you are where in Cameroon, your ID cards are produced in Yaoundé. That is how centralized the system is. And funny enough, to take us, I want to mention some stuff here that is really threatening. There are many districts in Cameroon where there are no ID card producing units there. If you go to Akwaya, which is an environment with over 200,000 people, I think it was supposed to have a production unit. There is no production unit in the whole of Akwaya. And just imagine the nearest town where there is a production unit of ID cards is in Manfe, which is about 120 kilometers away. Then the next nearest town is Bamenda, which is about 200 kilometers away. The question is, if this document is this important, why should certain districts, should certain environments not have production units? Not to talk of individuals who even make it and they cannot see it. You see, there was a report that the Guardian Post produced, I think last year, that reported that one person was killed in Ngwa because was shot by police because he failed to produce his ID card. I will still tell you guys today that if you go to Ngwa, the whole of Ngwa, which is a whole district, does not have an ID card producing unit. So the question is, how do the people of that environment move around, considering the crisis in which we have right now, where you cannot make a step without an ID card? It becomes terrible. So it is really, really, should I use the word insulting? I will put that again. When we take the production of such important document and we centralize it. We put it in Yaoundé. Then at the same time we come and we are preaching decentralization and not any kind, accelerated decentralization. I think that for the good of the people, out of 26 million Cameroonians, by estimation, only a quarter possess ID cards in relation to, that's by the World Bank. That's what the World Bank made us to understand. That only a quarter of these 26 million possess ID cards. So the question is, Mr. Leo, where should we go to have ID cards? Should Cameroonians not have the opportunity to have ID cards since they need it very, very importantly?
Now, we are talking about a company that is producing these ID cards. Let us even assume that the company is overwhelmed since they have to receive ID cards from all 10 regions of Cameroon. And this difficulty has been lingering for so long. Why not also create maybe a unit in Adamawa to take care of the northern regions, in Bafoussam to take care of the northwest, and why not in Douala?
Mr. Leo, before I come to your question,
all the centers linked to the central system in Yaoundé.
Yeah. Before I come to your question, I have a serious problem with us getting a foreign company in 2022 to produce national identity cards for Cameroonians. I find that not okay, in my opinion. And yet, the only motivation, the only incentive for us to have gone for this guy was, okay, they are very developed, they have the system that will provide ID cards in time, you can get a ID card the very day, they have the financial capability to create stations all over Cameroon and serve the people quickly. That would have been a reasonable justification for that. That is not the case. And if you look at the way these foreign companies operate in their own countries, once you generate an ID card, like when they issue that receipt to you, you already have that ID card. The systems automatically generate another ID card at the aspiration of that ID card. You don't need to go and compile, like my fellow panelist was saying, go to the court and do court declaration and go through all of that. So what is the rationale for using these foreign companies then? If they will end up, slowing down things the way it is. And, so my opinion is that we have to wake up. First, we should try to do these things ourselves. There is something. No, we still have an impression that some wild man will come someday and develop us. This is never going to happen. We have tried it for the past 50, 60 years, not working. We have to develop ourselves. We have to train. We have some very level-headed men and women in the National Police Corps. They can be trained to handle these tasks within Cameroon and decentralize it. I think the Cameroon government is capable of providing ID card units at least at the head of every subdivision. So if you want to go to your subdivision headquarters and produce your ID card and produce it even in a day, you come back between 8 and 9, you collect ID cards in the afternoon, that is printed, you pick it up by 2, 3, by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and you go home the very day. Why do you have to use this simple? These things work. There are companies in Cameroon that, like some higher institutions of learning that I know, they produce the ID cards in one day. Once you provide the required information, the correct information in the system, and the information is collected, and you pay the required amount of money that's supposed to be paid, it's okay. You just feed the information into the computer, and you generate the ID card and split it, and you go away with it. So, Mr. Leo, I really have never understood the
essence of using a foreign company. But even if we are using a foreign company, why not decentralize it to the regions?
I think Apostle Ambe said we should better go back to the old system that was decentralized, because that was serving the nation better than the new system. Because at the end of the day, I've never understood why we are using the foreign company. I've never understood the excuse that we can give, because it would have been that they were more performant than the old system. Of which they are not. In fact, they are worse than the old system.
Biometric.
Yes.
That's the reason.
But the government they should put the facilities at the subdivisional headquarters so that they can do it there. That's my opinion.
If not at the subdivisional headquarters, why not at least put it at the level of the regional capitals? Now, Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, we're talking about a decentralized system, but someone raised the issue of VIP treatments that actually stalls production, where the people who are working at that center may want to prioritize those who pay big.
Yes, Mr. Leo, if the opportunity is not given to somebody to steal, he won't steal.
Okay.
There are systems in other countries that will not permit any officer to steal because they are checkmated. And all of these things, if they are not put into control, we're going to have a lot of criminals in different offices. If at all, laissez-faire is the reason why most of the persons who are occupying offices are given to run those offices, then they will do anything they want. If nobody is controlling you, do whatever you want. Making passport in Cameroon easier than ID card is like telling us to reach heaven by passing through hell. That is what is happening right now. They are sending us to heaven and asking us to pass through hell. Because the ID card we are talking about here is the principal document that gives birth to every other document. Yes. You can't have a passport without an ID card. You cannot have a driver license without an ID card. You can't do a bank account without an ID card. All these things put together are the foundation of the ID card. Now, it is the right, first and foremost, of every citizen in the country to own an ID card. When it becomes too difficult for us to achieve the things that are very normal and easy for every citizen in the country to have as a priority, it tells you the state of the government. It tells you the state of the economy. It is very, very disheartening. I used to grow as a young boy. I would see my father used to have this carton that had green, red, yellow on it. That carton ID card was done at basic police stations around our neighborhood. You could run there with your passport size photograph, your birth certificate. They will feed the information. The police officer will sign it. They clip your picture there. Now, let's say we are evolving. If we're evolving, things are supposed to get better. We are supposed to have ID cards faster. We are supposed to have ID cards more, properly developed. From there, we came to the yellow color ID card. Now we have gone to biometric. I think for us to leave analog and enter into digital is a sign that connotes speed. How can we leave analog, which is manual, and enter into digital and then start having a snail pace movement? If at all we have entered into digital and biometric ID cards, I am sure we are supposed to be producing at least 10 million ID cards per day. Because at the analog own, we used to fill the documents with our hands, and there must be somebody to put the stamps there, and somebody must be there to clip the pictures. This time around, we have machines that scan pictures and put them with the information at once, and then bring them out to the biometric system. Where are we supposed to have more ID cards now or less ID cards? That's the problem. If at all we are improving in technology and our speed is reducing, then something is wrong with the technology. Now, we shouted on passport at first. Before you get the passport in this country, is 300, 250,000. Now they have been in such a way that you fill your document online, you pay 110,000. Even the people who are doing the passport have nothing to gain. It's directly just go there and then everything, your information is taken within the space of 3 to 4 days, your passport is out. Now, if at all we could do passport like this, because I did my own passport here in Douala, within the space of 3-4 days, it was out. Are you telling me that all those passports go to Yaoundé? They go to Yaoundé. The one that live the far north, the north. What mechanism are they using that the passport come within 3 days?
No,
and
everything now is done. You fill it and then the information is there already.
It enters there.
Yes.
And how does that affect ID from reaching that way?
No.
That's the problem. Yes. It shows we have the machinery here. It's no good. There's no goodwill. Because they have shown us from every statistic that passport could be gotten within 1 week. I got mine within 1 week here in Douala. And once you go there, as they are filling it, they are just giving information online. That's digital. Now that we have that system here, can I know the difference between an ID card and a passport in terms of filling those documents?
Okay.
What mechanism are they using? Lo abeg Malan.
Okay.
What mechanism are they using on the passport that they cannot use the mechanism on the ID card?
Maybe the number of persons requesting to have a passport, we cannot compare because almost everybody needs an ID card.
No, Mr. Leo.
Yeah.
I've told you that asking us to get passports without ID card is like telling us to go to heaven and passing through hell. Okay. You can't do a passport without ID card. Anybody going for passport must be a potential ID card owner.
Hold on, okay. Good evening to you. Good evening to you all. Good evening to you. Good evening to you all. I'm King Beza Eric from Muyuka. I did my ID card a year ago till now. It has not come. Anytime I go to renew, I pay police 1,000 francs. Good evening, Mr. Kum and your panelists. This topic is very important. Your panelists talk about many months before getting an ID card. Please, it takes years at the moment. I've been in vehicles where I have heard people say I have not collected my ID card for the past 4 years. It's a shame. Thanks. Peter is writing from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Kum. My humble proposal is that the ID card should be amounted to 50,000 and a 48 hours we're gonna have it, and it's like the passport, because this was the same problem we had when passport was 75,000 francs. Cillian is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm Francisca writing from Yaoundé. I wish my husband was here to watch this program, because he is one of the men who are not good in bed, and it's very hard for me. Thanks for this beautiful program. Okay, mix up then. How can you write that? I should read out the husband is. Hello, Mr. Kum. Good evening. Thanks for always being there for the population. My worry is most citizens keep renewing his or her identity as a citizen keep renewing his or her identity as a citizen of that country. Greetings, Mr. Leo. Please, should ID cards have expiring date? Because it's like a citizen nationality can expire. Thanks, okay? Bonsoir, ça fait 2 ans, je fais ma CENI, ce n'est pas sorti. Okay, in that area, the government of Cameroon has failed. If I happen to have double ID card, whose fault is it? Oh, they want to tell us that there are also fake IDs. What a shame. Okay. Good evening to you all in the studio. This is very important topic, and I'm happy you decided to talk about it today. I'm T-Boy from Boya Town. I made my ID card in 2019, and for more than 2 years, I couldn't get it. I paid 20,000 francs to someone, and in 3 days, the ID card was sent to me. I think this whole thing is planned to continue to scam Cameroonians of their money. This is state-sponsored fraud. Good evening to you all in the studio. This is a very important topic, and I'm happy you people are discussing about it. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Enjoying the program from Ambe. The issue of ID card has been a headache. In the worst one is when you make lost documents signed by police officer. When you are traveling, the forces of law collect it and ask for ransom. It's Lontum Emmanuel writing from Ambe. Good evening, my dear big brothers. Concerning the issue of ID cards, it is at times vexing to even talk about it. I learned from a close friend who happens to be involved in the production of ID cards that when someone comes to do an ID, after all the procedures and the cartoon given, the documents are randomly selected with some forwarded and others discarded and money embezzled. It was so vexing to me, but at the end of the day, he had to tell me, my brother na Cameroon, man go do how. Cameroon needs special cleansing. Thank you all for the good work, and special greetings to Apostle Ambe. You are a role model to those you may not even know. Fred is writing from Sancho. Good evening, Mr. Kum Leonard. Once more, thanks a lot for the education you and all the members of your panel are impacting to millions of Cameroonians. The irony is that the identity card, the driver's license, and passport are all established using the birth certificate, and which we Panabas in Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's Combat Fred from Bamenda. How were the 3 million fake ID cards dictated? Meanwhile, it was not possible to dictate them in the production process. What is the advantage behind a computerized ID card? A big shame to Cameroon government. No ID card problem in Nigeria with over 150 million people. But the Cameroon government can produce ID cards for 25 million people. Okay? Now, we are talking about the situation. Some persons stay for 2 years without receiving it. Somebody is giving a testimony that for 2 years he could not receive it, but he paid 20,000 francs, and within 3 days he had it. Do we see this an issue of money making here?
Yes, Mr. Leo, exactly that. I would like to give a little testimony that just happened some few days ago. Last week, a friend came from France, and his ID card had expired. He wanted to do a new one immediately because he had just a few days here. And the only place you could do was in Yaoundé, and he thought, okay, he could do that and have it in due time. But very, very startlingly, he coughed out the sum of 150,000 francs to have the ID card
established.
I mean, I'm talking about a live experience of a friend that happened last week. He coughed out 150,000 francs to have the ID card in 2 days. And that's what happened. Exactly, he had his ID card in 2 days. Just to let you know what is happening. Really, what is happening is that, people are looking for ways to enrich themselves. When he pays 150,000 francs, I'm asking myself, does the money go to the state coffers so that they precipitate the production of the ID cards, or the money goes to the individual? Now, secondly, I also had a young man who called me from Dubai, and this one, he was talking about a passport. Somebody wrote there and said there are some cards. Some of those documents are processed and some are left behind. In Dubai, a young man called me and he asked me to go to Ewane and check about the status of his passport. And now, when we went into it, we realized that even at the embassy, those who go to the embassy to do their ID card, some documents are sent to Cameroon for production and some are left back. And that is what we discovered. And that is to say that the corruption is actually deep, even here in Cameroon as well as in some embassies abroad. It is a shame. But in the face of all of these things, you realize that there's one time I saw in Cameroon where a Chinese had an ID card. There was an ID card brandished on the internet, which was owned by a Chinese, a Cameroon identity card owned by a Chinese. I've even heard that there are even Nigerians who are owning ID cards in Cameroon. So an ID card in Cameroon is that precious good that you have your money, you buy. And those who are suffering in Cameroon are those who do not have the money to buy it. But the most disturbing fact about it is that when they even discard your ID card, they don't even inform you that it is like this. You have discarded your ID card. You should go and check, and so that you reproduce another one. And somebody keeps quiet, and people keep on going and checking and going and checking. Meanwhile, it has been utterly abandoned, and the procedure has been stopped. It is a very, very startling thing. Very, very disturbing, because let me let you know that according to the December 1990 law in Cameroon, if you are caught without any ID card, you have 3 months imprisonment, or you pay a fine of from 50 to 100,000 francs, or both. So you can either be in prison, or you pay a fine of 50 to 100,000 francs, or you are in prison and you still pay the fine. That is the fine that you are paid if you are caught without an identity card. So we are joking with this issue without knowing. This has come to let us know that it appears as if I'm beginning to believe some people, like this opposition party, some of these our Cameroonians who are of a different certain regions, where during the 2018 presidential election, the people were flogging the identification police stations to get their ID card. And some people raised some alarm to say that the ID card of people of certain regions do not come out. And I'm beginning to believe that hypothesis, that you find that some people with certain names, that the ID cards do not come out. And we have to get into this thing to know why. We really need to know why some of these things are happening the way they are happening. Now, Cameroon, Elekam is here campaigning that people should register and vote. And at the same time, people are hungry to get their ID card and they cannot have it. What paradox, what controversy are we having? And in the face of all these, the government stays mute. I was thinking that somebody should actually hit his hand on the table and say, this should stop. I was just talking about the press conference of the Director General of National Security. He just announced that another production center may be set in Garoua for people of the north. He said that. But what is the difference? There's a difference between what somebody says in Cameroon and what actually is done. Because the center in Yaoundé is overstuffed. The Thales, the company, is overwhelmed. And when this Thales company came to Cameroon, one of the things that the song that they sang about it was that the Cameroon ID card is going to be very, very competitive. It is very high. The biometric, it's very, very competitive. The quality is going to be high. And all of us clapped. And we thought that with the quality is going to be high, the time of production is going to, not knowing that one of the countries that has played against the industrial revolution in the world is Cameroon. Cameroon is one of the #1 country that has played against industrial revolution because they want to continuously do the things the way they did it in the 15th century. People do not want the machines to do the work and do it fast because they want to keep on doing the work and receiving bribe for it. And that is why in Yaoundé, they will not computerize our things. You keep on doing, look, the teachers who were rioting, or you find documents all scattered, dismayed around ministries because people want to receive candidates, people want to receive people face to face in order to receive what they want to receive. But documents get missing, and they are missing intentionally. Somebody, I want to share another interesting testimony. Somebody told me yesterday that there was somebody working in the Ministry of Finance. When he realizes that you have maybe accumulated sum of money up to 5 million, he puts the file in the drawer. He wants to see you face to face before he treats the file. And seeing you face by means of what? You have to give the percentage before you treat the file. I think that is exactly what Cameroonians are going through. The ID card is just an eye-opener to some of these things that are happening in Cameroon. And I think that from this, we should be able to shout and say shame to the government of Cameroon, because this is unheard of. That people are crying to have, that people are crying to belong. Can you imagine I'm a Cameroonian, I'm begging to be a Cameroonian? If I'm not a Cameroonian, then send me somewhere else where you are, I'll be a Cameroonian. Why should I be in Cameroonian and you a Cameroonian and you think that I'm not a Cameroonian? Each time there's a stop, I'm being questioned. Are you a Cameroonian? Shouldn't be proved that you're a Cameroon. Yeah, if there is a place where they say no man's land, where people don't own nationality they have to go to, then push me to that place, let me go and stand there. Am I supposed to beg to be a Cameroonian? Okay, I'm supposed to beg to have parenthood in Cameroon. I'm not supposed to. Okay. The government is supposed to come after me to beg me to be after a Cameroonian because it is the government's responsibility.
Right. Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's Severin Leku from Mutengene. My friend has made his ID card for 3 years today, but unable to get a new one, and he has spent almost 500,000 francs. This has really caused a problem, and he is unable to move to different towns like in the southwest. Okay, very bad situation there. Somebody spending 500,000 and not getting. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Just wanted to add something to this concept. Let the party in power give us the date that they will allow Cameroonians to live and enjoy the country freely. Ambe Charles writing from Tico. We are talking ID cards today and not party politics. Now, Jokem Quinivet, how do we curb these instances where persons with fat purses are given priority in the production of ID cards? Can you unmute?
Sorry about that. So I was saying that this issue of money, bribery, and corruption, it's not just about ID cards. It's a nasty reality of Cameroon. Yes, it happens in many other countries, but it's unfair because in Cameroon we have the bourgeois and we have the largest population. That is the ones that are living from hand to mouth every day. But these are the same people that they keep being stripped of the few thousands that they can earn by the end of the month. These ID card issues, you know, like people gave comments there that they've gone for a year, 2, 3 years, and yeah, that is true. Have you been in a transport car, maybe from Douala, Yaoundé, and you see how these police guys, they ask people for money? You don't have an updated ID card. The old one you have is expired. You don't have an updated ID card because the system has made it such that if you're not having 50 or 70 or hundreds of thousands like our fellow Cameroonians are testifying there to bribe, let's use the words as they are. If you don't have this money to bribe them, for them to give you your ID card, you're not going to have it. So, but you're in the place of at the control post, and the police officer takes your ID card. It is your picture on the ID card. It is your document. It is just expired. He looks at it and he tells you it's expired. He puts it in his pocket, and at the end of it all, he just needs you to hand him a 500 francs, a 1,000 francs. In reality, we don't even need ID cards in Cameroon. The way the government or the system is making us understand it. What we need is to have money to bribe. That is practically, or that is systematically becoming the new identification process. And I heard one of the panelists saying that he was expecting that someone will hit their hand on the table. I want to say that we all are supposed to stand strong against this violence. Like, we can't be waiting for somebody to hit their hands on the table. We cannot. And true, who do we run to? Who do we complain to? Who will you report bribe to? If you go to a station and an officer asks you to give 50,000 to get your ID card, who in that station are you going to report to? It's a network. It is a cobweb. They are all interrelated. They are all doing the same thing. Someone will take your receipt, sign it with a kind of handwriting that cannot be read, and his subordinate on the street will collect that same receipt and tell you, what they've written here, I cannot read it. And that systematically means that you have to pay for having a document that is not properly signed. You have to pay for a crime, if I should put it that way, a crime that is not yours. I will insist again, we are citizens. We are not the ones producing ID cards. If the ID cards are not available, it's not the fault of the Cameroonian. If the writing on the receipts are not clear, it is not the fault of the Cameroonian. And it's first of all one local paper that after you've put it in your pocket 2-3 times, the thing gets torn, it gets tired and all of that. But you still need to pay for a job poorly done. You pay for the ID card to be produced, you pay for it to be extended. I can imagine how much people have spent to extend ID cards that have been delayed for 2 years, 3 years. And we know the economic situation of Cameroon. It's the responsibility of every Cameroonian. It's the responsibility of you and I to stand and say enough is enough. I always say, yes, I come on media platforms to talk, but talking just on media platforms is not enough. We all have to be very involved in the change process. We cannot wait for someone to hit their hand on the table. We cannot wait for someone to hit their hand on the table to say it's enough. We all need to stand up against this wickedness. Okay. It is a computerized system, but they have decided not to make use of the computers because they want to keep extorting money from it. Is a greed. There is greed in the hearts of Cameroonians, the kind of greed that has pushed them to not be patriotic. The people leading us are not patriotic. That is the truth about it. When someone is extorting a 500,000 francs from a young man or a young woman who is barely surviving with his family, it is because they don't care about how you get the money. They don't care about the debts you get yourself involved in to get this money to come and pay. It is greed. Okay. We don't have patriotic leaders. Great. And it's time we start saying the truth to ourselves. It's time we start holding our hands to stand against the wickedness that is being meted upon us in our own motherland.
Quinivet, thank you.
That is the place we need to get to.
Thank you, Quinivet. Daisy writing from Kumba says, good evening, Mr. Leo, and to all the panelists, thank you for this wonderful topic. I'm learning a lot. Good evening, Mr. Leo, nice program as usual. And my problem with this ID card is the receipt can't be reprinted. If the receipt get lost, I have gone to the police station now for 2 years and there is no way again to put a stamp on it. Mr. Liu is really sad. Thanks everyone on the platform for their wonderful contributions. Sumbele Kelvin writing from Kongsamba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's Kombi Fred from Bamenda. How were the 3 million fake ID cards detected? Okay. Now, we are talking about this situation. What should we do? Are these Cameroonians not complaining to their local representatives? They live in constituencies, they live in municipalities, and almost everybody is looking to the police boss to make a statement. Why are the local representatives not bringing pressure to bear on the on those that are charged with delivering these ID cards? Because once people cannot move, it slows down the economy. Many persons miss out on examinations. Many persons miss out on international rendezvous because of this. Municipalities are losing out regions are losing out. Why do we not hear these persons carry these worries to these quarters to bring pressure on them?
Mr. Leo, you see, we are in a hand-clapping nation where individuals actually occupy positions not for the sake of the people, but for their belly and to become hand-clappers. We have a parliament which is supposed to be actually handling issues like this. But most of those we call representatives representing the people do not go out there to talk for the people. You know, I mentioned Akuhmbom here a couple of minutes ago when I took the floor, took the stage. The parliamentarian for Akuhmbom, actually, I think it was November last year, came up. He was trying to present an issue concerning the ID card problem, and what he instead said was he is looking for so that there should be an establishment of a production unit in Akuhmbom, and even looking for a way to actually separate and create a new division. I was like, okay, that might be good, but what are you saying concerning the immediate situation where this individual seems to be marginalized? And worst of it, some of them have even gone that far to travel to most of the distant places to make these ID cards and end up not having it in their hands. What are you doing about it? Most of them will say nothing. That surely was the only person who spoke concerning that. What about the others? How many parliamentarians do we have in Cameroon? Because we are made to understand that in Cameroon, parliamentarians are not for a particular region, they are for the state. So if they are for the nation, they are supposed to be speaking for every Cameroonian. What is happening that our parliament is not bringing this ID card issue on the floor and talking for the sake of our people is what we need to know. We didn't, for those who were elected, we didn't elect individuals to go sit and clap their hands and are unable to present our case before the body that be. So I think it is very important, Mr. Leo, that we let Cameroonians know that this ID card problem is a problem that, in fact, when you want to give a word to actually quantify it, it becomes a little bit difficult. It is a situation that is worse than we have any other worse situation in Cameroon, because you can't produce an ID card. You go for an ID card for those who even succeed to go make it. It takes 1-2 years, like some mentioned. Somebody even mentioned, sent me a message here that his has been for 4 years. It has not come out. So if somebody makes an ID card and 4 years after he cannot have the ID card, what do you expect from such a person? How do you want that person to move around? And we are in, for example, using the Anglophone zones in Cameroon, the two regions, they are suffering from a crisis which permits them to always have an ID card on their body. How do you walk around that city of Bamenda or of Boya or of Manfe or of Kumba without an ID card in your hands? I think it is necessary that the government realizes that what we are saying here is something that they should look into as fast as possible. If we have biometric passports that come out in 2 days, why can't a biometric ID card come out in 2 days? Because both of them are biometric. Why is it that the production of the biometric passport is here in Yaoundé, and the production is that fast? Do I need to go to a police station to fill my information in order for me to have an ID card? I don't think so. If the passport, I don't need to go to a police station, I also need to do the same thing with my ID card. Because ID cards are more important than the passports. And you can't even make that passport without an ID card. So I think that the Cameroon government should look into this issue, because a lot of persons are suffering out there. You see, what Quinivet actually said there, that it is the fight of every Cameroonian. We should not wait for somebody to hit their hand. when we talk of hitting the hand, I don't think they were talking of somebody who needs to stand bold. We are saying that it is necessary we talk like we are doing, and it's hitting the hand. The Cameroon government should take it as something that is threatening to the well-being of the people of Cameroon, because I just mentioned a situation in Ngwa, and I know that the minister delegate spoke concerning that issue, but that issue where an individual did not present an ID card, he was shot. That is to make you understand how delicate it is. And so let us consider this issue to be very threatening. So I want to say the government of Cameroon, you see, a lot of us when we speak, they say we are critics of the government. But I think that the government needs to be doing things in a way which will permit individuals to appreciate it. If you do not do things the way Cameroonians can appreciate, then they will criticize. ID card production is necessary for the movement of Cameroonians daily, and that is something that we cannot argue about. And if we have to have ID cards by going to pay 100 and something thousand to have it, if we have to have ID cards by bribing to have it, then we are no more Cameroonian citizens. Okay. Because being a citizen means that I have a right to that document without any argument with anybody.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. See how someone's receipt was extended on the 31st of February. Do we have any calendar date as 31st of February? Who is fooling who in this country? Okay, there is one that I've seen that is indicated that indefinitely until the original comes out. Yes.
That's who did that deal with.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. I'm enjoying the program. I made my ID card since 2019 and it's not yet out. I'm watching from Yaoundé. Good evening to all of you guys watching us from Yaoundé this evening. So many messages are coming in from the nation's capital to indicate that the situation is really bad. Mr. Liu, extend greetings to the panel. All this is an attempt to collapse the Cameroon ignorantly. God bless the author of this discourse, Bra Etandip in Libe. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Thank you, people, so much for talking about this issue of ID cards in Cameroon. It's a big shame in this country as the issue of identity card is concerned. The system is totally corrupted and those in charge remain there to exploit the population. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Wisdom from Congo. I was arrested because of ID card and I was 16 plus and I was having my school ID. Is it right that a 16-year-old needs to have an ID card? Good evening, Mr. Liu, and you all in the studio. I made my ID card in 2018 until date. I'm still using the receipt. I contacted someone and he said if I bring 50,000, I will have the ID in less than 2 days. Does it really mean that I will pay to make an ID card and at the end I will still bribe people to get the original ID? I have missed opportunities due to the ID card issue because the writing there is no longer clear. Even police themselves complain about it when I'm traveling as if it's my fault. The government really have to do something about it. Sheila is writing from Bingo. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Your brothers on stage. What about the mistakes and wrong spellings in our names? Lord have mercy. Courage to you all. It's Shufai writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu and the entire panel. I see no need why the man with the glasses is complaining. He's one of those people who keep raining praises on the government of Cameroon. We'll only experience change when we all accept the total fate of the issue. Okay. Good evening to you all, Mr. Liu. You guys are doing a good job enlightening the power that be. To me, the government know what they are doing. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Can't you imagine my ID card was done in Muya in 2014 and the expiry date was supposed to be in 2024, but in my ID card it shows 2017 and I was arrested for that. Ako is writing from Susa. Good evening to you all in the studio, Mr. Liu. My question is that why should they continue taking money when the ones paid for have not even been delivered? At times the police don't even want to know whether your ID card is in process. It's sad and quite frustrating. Peter from Limbe. Now, who is supposed to bring pressure for this ID card issue to be addressed in Cameroon?
I think that's what we are doing, Mr. Liu. I mean, we are our intention of
yes. Beyond what we are doing.
Beyond what we are doing, the citizens.
Okay.
Like my lady panelist said, you know, this is not like the citizens who go through this pain of standing under the sun, under the rain, to do these ID cards should be able to raise the awareness to the quarters that be, because you would imagine that if you drive past through a station, you see a lot of people queue up to establish ID cards, and then you, for how long they stay there, establish, you see the certified documents, they do photocopies. I mean, you compose a whole file and deposit it. You get the receipt, you never get it. So it should be a matter of everybody, including what we are doing. It should be a matter of everybody, including what we are doing. And at one moment, there was an order from about a couple of years back, I think about 2 years back, an order from the police boss saying that the carton should no longer be extended. That once you have a carton and it expires, you should just let it be until the original one comes out. I actually watched him pass that order already somewhere. And I think that is what should be implemented. But the police in the streets are not going to let us go with this, because I remember I was in a car with my son, and around my 4, went up after Motengene, they stopped my son, he came out, showed the ID card that was extended. The man said he could not read and said he should. That my son was not going to join me back in the car. I told him, no, my son is not a police officer, this is a police stamp. He said he was a gendarme. I said, but your colleagues have not been able to deliver this ID card for the past 2 years. He said, no, he's not a police, he's a gendarme. He's not the one who does ID cards. So those experiences are not very good to talk about. So, Mr. Leo, to answer your question, all of us are supposed to take the responsibility to raise awareness to the government and to the quarters that be, that this is what Cameroonians are actually going through in the process of acquiring ID cards. And I think it's one of the most important documents, and I think something has to be done about it. I mean, if we can produce passports in 1 week, we should produce ID cards in 1 day.
Okay. We are going to move straight to our second topic for tonight, which has to do with this whole issue of tribalism and regionalism, how they affect our development from a national perspective. Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa. One may be tempted to think that Cameroonians are born divisive in their nature, because at all the quarters, you look at schools, people go to the school of their tribes person, they go to the store of their tribes person, they bank, credit union of their village, they travel with the agency from their village. Why are we like that?
Well, it's not strange. Tribalism is something that got introduced.
Okay.
God introduced tribalism. It was the one that divided the tribe of Israel into 12 different tribes. 12 brothers that came from the same Lord ended up becoming tribes and started fighting each other to possess lands. So tribalism is something that is divine, and it should not be a crime in Cameroon. It should not be a crime in any part of Africa. From every ramification, you go to every nation, you will realize that tribalism is predominant. For instance, you go to a place like Kenya, there are 3 particular tribes in Kenya. You have the Gikuyus, you have the Kalenjins, and you have the Luos. Raila Odinga is on the Luo, that's a minority. He had to lose the election to Ruto because Ruto is from Gikuyu. And you discover that because of the tribe he came from, he succeeded. Very few countries in Africa are led by the minority. And that's because the West must have passed through some gymnastics and then put the person in power. So tribalism is part of the society. We have had intertribal wars in those days. Every tribe will fight to defend and protect their territory, to protect their interests. So it is not strange. The problem is, it has gone beyond tribalism. What we are experiencing in Cameroon is not tribalism anymore. Because sometimes we talk about tribe, it has entered into families. People no longer have tribesmen, they have the family members.
Okay.
Yes, individuals are having opportunities in respective offices.
So we need to come up with a new term.
Yes, it should be familiarity. So familiarism. We are going to agree, because even the tribalism does no longer work. There are people from the same tribe complaining with individuals. I think from family they go to clans. From clans they go to villages. From villages they go now to tribes. So you realize that it starts with the smallest unit. If the man's entire family is not satisfied, he doesn't go to the clan where certain cousins and other members can come in. If the clan is not satisfied, he doesn't touch the village. And the village is not satisfied, does not touch. The only person that he can touch out of his community is somebody that satisfies him sexually, probably a girlfriend. or some kind of sugar mommy along the line. And these are the things we are experiencing. You realize that in almost every area, you go to the southwest, you go to the northwest, it's the same thing. Everywhere. You go to Nigeria, we have a battle there now. The battle is that an Easterner wants to become president. The Northerners have always ruled because they are the majority. The Westerners have equally ruled because they are second majority in Nigeria. The Easterners had one president who introduced Nigeria, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and then Goodluck Jonathan, whom by chance miraculously became a president. But after that, he was kicked out by a Northerner. So it tells you that tribalism, how do I call it, familiarism, clanism, villagism, let us add all the isms in all the different, you realize it grows in that capacity. Come to Cameroon, there are individuals who have MPs in communities and they are not subscribed by the MP, but the MP has touched their immediate family members. We have Secretary of States that come from particular communities. The community is not touched, but members of the family, they are touched. A house girl or a first school living holder who is directly related to a Secretary of State is more important than that son that came from that village with first class honor. You see that house help getting a job while the first class man does not have any job, because they are dealing with a clan, they are dealing with a family. So it's very, very common. I spoke one time, I said to somebody, I say, you people are too tribalist. He say, ethnocracy is a part of life. People live on their ethnicity. They live to protect the interests of their ethnic group. So it is not strange. The wars we have fought in the past, it has been inter-tribal wars. Every tribe was struggling to protect their interests. So it's not strange when they say tribalism. Regionalism now becomes another problem. Another problem because that one is controlled from the central bureau. Tribalism is not something that can be controlled from the central bureau. When it comes to regionalism, the way budget is being partitioned in particular regions, it still shows a kind of disfavor. And that's what the problem is. At the level of regionalism, you should see some kind of impartial treatment. The way they maltreat certain particular communities, because every region has a budget every year. You realize that a particular small region has budget that covers 2 other regions in a year. That's why we see a lot of manipulation. To me, tribalism is a reality that one must accept, because the truth is immediately Andrew saw Jesus, he went and called with the brother Peter to come. So it's it didn't start today. Right in heaven is still tribalism. On earth is tribalism. So let us accept that reality. Mr. Ndimancho is here, is from Ambe. He will not be appointed. He will not be appointed Minister of Education. And doesn't employ all non people for the things of me. Then if he doesn't employ me, I begin to get angry and say, I was in the city of Mr. Ndimancho. I did not employ me. As all those who have gone to school in Noni finish, they have not finished. He will start from there. So it's a reality that even all of us are given the opportunity, we will suffer. We are shouting that to the whole Bulubeti, Bulubeti, Bulubeti. Bulubeti is the man who is on seat. As long as he's there, he will be appointing his people. But as long as you want your people to go, also look for opportunity to climb. They say he that sits on a plum tree, the family eats the blackest plums down there. So I think it's important for us to accept some realities. This tribalism to me is not a problem because it's a reality. Now, my problem is the regionalism. Regionalism means that all of us have rights as citizens in this country at the level of the region. And if a cake is divided, it should be divided nationally, considering the fact that every region has equal rights in the country. I think that is why we have a serious problem. So we have problem in this country because at the level of the region, there's problem. I said one time here that the destinies of certain regions are particularly left in the hands of individuals. That is to say, they call them godfathers of that region. If they are not there, you can't be an MP. You can't be a senator. They are the ones who carry your name to go and submit it. If they are not in front of you, they are called godfathers. Why should the destiny of a region be in the hands of few persons? Hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people can be in a region and their destiny is in the hand of a few godfathers. And these godfathers will choose to pick the unqualified that come from their roots than to pick the individuals who have the competence and the skill to handle particular things and put them in front. Because why? It is settled that as they are considered godfathers in that community, they are the ones who decide the fate of every other individual, which is very dangerous and risky. So at the level of the region, I think they should be given opportunity for people who have skill and ability to deliver maximally, because the growth of the region is the growth of the citizens of that region.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Ndimancho, we're talking about tribalism. Have we promoted it unconsciously, wanting to identify more with our own at the detriment of the nation, because today almost everybody is complaining that, okay, we favor this. But once given the opportunity, we find almost everybody doing the same.
Yeah, of course. That is an affinity that one cannot really hide. You know, when you are beside any of yours, when I mean yours, I mean somebody who is beside you, or someone from your village, or someone from your family, you tend to have that sentiment. It is blood. I mean, in one way or the other. We know of words like nepotism, where, I mean, that is practiced openly, maybe in government, where nepotism is appointing your brothers or sisters or appointing your friends into positions, and that way of favoring people. But I think that this issue of tribalism, call it even regionalism, because that is it. What it is today is regionalism, is tribalism in another way. I don't want to call it chauvinism. But this is something that has just come new, and it has come with what we call capitalism. Because when we practice in the early years, when our forefathers practiced what we call communalism, I mean, everyone of a particular setting was looked as a brother or a sister. In the African context, there is no word for a cousin in Africa. There is none. Yes, there's no word. Every is a brother. You know, there is no word for a niece. It's a sister. So now you begin to understand that people lived that kind of a communal life whereby you looked at your cousin, your niece, and even your neighbor as your own brother or sister. That is how it happened in the early days. So, but things have changed so much, especially with the advent of capitalism, whereby you realize that people begin to put eye on what is utterly theirs. Because you are looked upon in the society now according to what you have as far as money is concerned. And that is why you find that in most places now, people put fences around their houses to identify themselves. They want to, they don't want to separate themselves from the older people. And it is causing a lot of problem, because you have seen other people do that, and for them it's a kind of pride. It's that kind of, when you are that setting, that situation, you feel that you can lord it over all other people. That attitude, that practice have been copied to other, learned by other people, and that is why you find that even in government now, you see people who embezzle a lot of money, not really because it is really their attitude to embezzle, but it is because of this issue of tribalism. They want to enrich a certain rank, family of people. And that's why this monarchy kind of stuff, people want to put their own at the particular, because they want to preserve what they have. As far as government is concerned, you say tomorrow, if I'm not here, this person is going to be able, if my brother is going to be able to sustain me and what I'm having now. If I'm not here tomorrow, if I'm being actually followed by the law for what I did, I know this brother that I put here, I'm going to look up to, because he's going to protect me. So you find that the issue of tribalism has a lot of ramifications, and it centers around greed, egoism. It centers around that, because people don't really have a reason why they are tribalistic. Because in Cameroon, you look at even what happened in 1982. When President Ahijo in the early 1920s introduced what we call the regional balance in Cameroon. According to him, he wanted to every region to be able to be given a chance to grow. But the thing has grown to be at a point whereby it has been misinterpreted to mean that, okay, if you are appointed from a particular village, it is in order to take care of your people. And therefore, any minister, even go to the National Assembly, go from the first floor to the last floor, you hear the language that people are speaking are of the particular region, or the particular village, of the particular town. There in the far north. You go even to the prime ministry, you find the language, you listen to the language that people are speaking, they are more of a particular village or a particular dialect of particular people. That is very clear. We have heard of ministers in this country whereby they used to call them the minister of this. And you know that when it was there, the people of that village became real teachers. When you counted teachers, secondary school teachers in this country, the people of that particular region or that particular village were more of teachers in the secondary education than any other region. So you see that the issue of tribalism is about issue of greed. You wanting to give to your own countryman at the detriment of the other sectors of the region, and that is the issue. And that is why you find this issue of the national cake. People talk about the national cake. You are slicing it and give it to me. There is no, and that's what we want to promote. What we call, intelligence. We want to promote what we call the know-how in a country. The issue of tribalism has caused a lot of untold suffering to some people. Look at what happened to the University of Marwa, where the MPs of that particular region had a sit-in strike because they didn't recruit the number of children in indigenous into that university, and they imposed on the government, and the government gave in. It has happened like in many other areas. We can go on citing and citing and citing, but we think that tribalism has rather spoiled, has rather brought about, it's slowness in the development of the country. And one of the things that has promoted tribalism is this issue of language. The issue of tribes, God comes to language. We have about 247 different dialect languages in Cameroon. And therefore, anybody who goes into Yaoundé, he's listening to hear whether anybody from my village works in this place. Even before you go to Yaoundé, you want to find out who is working in this ministry that is from my place. Let me tell you, I was with some colleagues the other day, and they were making some appointment. And immediately they started making another appointment, a name came out. The colleague just took a phone and called another colleague in another town and said, have you heard? We have had this person. Let's listen to hear whether another person will come up in that appointment. This is what is happening. People are listening to hear that whether, this person will be favored. Okay, like a musician, let me just end with this. Donny Ewood will sing, Ma vie a changé. Mon frère en haut, mon frère est nommé. And it is a norm. And that is what is happening.
Good evening, Mr. Leo, and to everyone in the studio. The issue of ID card in this country is really a call for concern. It's like having the original ID card is by raffle draw at the production center in Yaoundé. How do we explain the fact that someone is carrying a carton for more than 4 years but is able to have a travel passport in maximum 1 week? This is an indirect message from the government to its citizens to travel out of the country. Why is it that in a decentralized country like ours, there is just one production center for ID cards for the whole country? How can I be a Cameroonian and begging to be recognized in my country by forces of law and order who treat people without ID cards as foreigners? The situation is really that bad, and the police are making matters worse. The government really have to do something about it. Dr. Mrs. Ndifon, writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to you all in the studio. Mr. Liu, thank you very much for this wonderful topic. You people are really the voice of the voiceless, for Cameroonians are really suffering with this ID wahala. It's Elvis Brown from Shell New Bell. Greetings to Mr. Liu. I did mine in 2020. When I went to check 2 years after, I was told it's too early. I even made it at the regional delegation of national security, Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. The issue of ID cards is really terrible. My wife did hers ID card in 2011 with all information correct as per the receipt issue. When the original came, her year of birth was changed. When she raised the issue, immediately they collected it back, saying they will follow up. Fast forward 5 years after, nothing, and then in 2016 she established a different one as advised by the police. 2 years later, in 2018, nothing was out. I took upon myself, went to the production center in Yaoundé, and they said she has double ID and she needs to provide her documents for confirmation of year of birth. I finally spent about 90,000 francs after making the documents available, and 7 days the ID was out. Question: why is it so difficult for identification posts to be empowered to do all the verifications in case of delayance of production? Thomas is writing from Dibanda. That is in mile 14, Boya Municipality, Fako Division, Southwest region. Now, Jokem, Quinivet out there, we are talking about tribalism. How much has tribalism helped to develop or destroy Cameroon? What is the plan the PAP has for Cameroon with respect to this?
Thank you, Mr. Liu, for your question. And I will begin by commenting on something that you said on the previous question, and then I'll get back to that as soon as possible. The issue of reporting the ID card problem to local representatives, I want to say that most of these local representatives are stooges. Most of these local representatives are stooges and puppets of the regime. It is a well-staged political strategy to maintain power, to frustrate Cameroonians, to maintain a certain degree of dominance over the citizens of Cameroon. So reporting to stooges of the regime is as well as talking to the same regime that is making us suffer. And now back to the question of tribalism. I want to say governance should not be a matter of the tribe where a person comes from. It should not be a matter of affinity. Worst of all, tribal or regional affinity. We should not appoint people. Yes, if you know someone from your tribe that is competent to carry on a particular responsibility, okay, good and fine. It should be that the responsibility you're giving to this individual is on the basis of competence and not primarily on the basis of tribal recognition or regional recognition. And just as the other panelists said, it is the reality of Cameroon. They took examples of ministries and yes, I've been to offices where people sit in an office and they are speaking in their mother tongue. I am not saying that people should not communicate in their mother tongue, but I believe that office setting is an official setting and official languages should be used in such settings. So these kinds of examples are confirmations that there are many people who find themselves seated in all those air-conditioned offices, not on the basis of merit, but on the basis of man, no man, and yes, your father and my father, and all of those relationship ties traditionally or tribally and regionally. Now, but if I want to talk to you about what the PAP as a party is envisaging, which I think that could also be a thing that every Cameroonian that is first of all in a position of authority and that still has some integrity should be envisaging, is that whatever position you are handing to someone, you are entrusting, whatever responsibilities you are entrusting to someone, it should be based on patriotic values. Is this person able to handle this responsibility? It should not be about the tribe the person hails from.
Okay. It should not be based on the tribe the person hails from. Network issues, we'll try to reconnect with Quinivet, coming in from the nation's capital. Prof. Mark and Tony, you are the man of God also, yes, from that perspective. Should we preach more of love to see to see the nation bigger than tribe and region?
Mr. Leo, I will be sincere in making these statements. Tribalism in itself is not a problem because the nation begins from the tribe.
Okay.
And a lot of us, we fail to understand that tribalism per se is not the fact that I come from the same village with you. The fact that we come from the same tribe does not mean that if I have an opportunity, I should maybe not present it to you. I should present it to you. What we are supposed to be hitting a nail on is nepotism and favoritism.
Okay.
Nepotism is that idea where an individual has an opportunity and he gives preferential treatment to his family relatives as well as to close friends. In that case, that is a problem in itself. Like Apostle Ambe mentioned earlier, tribalism is something that is biblical. And I will tell you, the reason why most European nations are great the way they are is because they built their nationhood around tribes. If you look at Germany, Germany is a tribe. Britain is a tribe. You want to go to France, there are tribes that merged. So they built their nationhood around tribes. But when it comes to us, for the fact that we have multitudes of tribes, it becomes a problem to unite these people and stand with them. But who created the problem we have today, which we are struggling to fight against tribalism, which is not supposed to be a problem? Is the same colonial master who came, brought in different tribes and put them together, take tribes and place the tribes together and make them to enter into a state where they are finding it practically difficult to live together. You can't bring so many tribes and think that there will not be tribalism. Anytime one of these tribes climb or maybe has the opportunity to sit in power, you will see that favoritism comes in. They will surely want to look at a member of their family as the person that is fitting. Meritocracy disappears. So we should look for measure strategies on how to constitute a nation using these same tribes. That is why if we have to come back to look at the issue of so-called decentralization today, it is struggling to tackle this problem of multi-tribal issues, where they say, okay, let this region be this region. In this region, they should do it. But at the same time, we are not a region of one tribe. Like, for example, if you want to go down to the south, in the south, you have one tribe. So when let me not say one tribe, because you have the Bulus, you have the Kangs, and in fact, there are about 3 or 4 or 5 tribes in the south. Making it a little manageable. It's manageable. But when you come to a place like the northwest, the southwest, the central region, you come to littoral, west. No, west even is manageable. And because they have the general name Bamli case, which they fall under, they can manage their case. But when it comes to littoral, you have the Sawas are different. You have different groups of persons coming together. You come to the southwest, it is just like that. So it becomes difficult to manage these tribes. So don't tell me that for the fact that one member of a member of a particular tribe is appointed into leadership in that particular environment, he will not go looking for the person who merits to take a particular job or to gain a particular project. He will look for somebody whom he thinks that is related to him. That becomes the greatest problem we have. And so in this case, Mr. Leo, I think that to solve that particular problem of tribalism, which as I said is not a problem in itself, is the idea of nepotism that is a real problem. To handle this issue, I think we should get to that place where we say, if somebody is to come from your tribe, the various opportunities that are presented, in fact, the opportunity that is presented, if you are the one sitting at the helm, those that are supposed to bring in people or employ people to work in that particular office or maybe under that office where you are, should not be you who should select them. You should bring in other persons to select. But it is a difficult situation. It is very difficult to handle it. And that is why a nation like Cameroon is actually being, if you notice it, the growth of the nation will be very difficult because we have individuals who keep on favoring their friends or who will keep on giving preference to their family members than any other person who is qualified. Okay. And that is the reason why you could see that somebody sat at the helm of Enam and you heard that 12 persons came from the same village in Enam. That is to tell you the situation that we have in the ground. Okay. So it is difficult to handle it, but I think they should do something about it in order to solve the problem from a mile distance, because you cannot handle it.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. My car got back on Saturday, 8th of this month. 2022. So I was in one garage, but there was no light in Moya on Saturday, so I had to go to Moliko to arrange the car. Part that was bad at Moliko, so I asked my mechanic man to help me his bike so that I can use to go arrange the car stuff. On arriving Malingo Junction, one police officer stopped me and asked for permits. I told him it's not my bike. He asked me to give him my ID, of which I did. Then he said I should give him 25,000 francs before he would give my ID. Till now, I don't have an ID. What do I do? Go and plead with him.
Collect it.
Good evening, sir. If you want to see tribalism in its practicality, then you visit the Noon Division and some of its subdivisions. In the secondary educational sector, about 98% of principals are only people from the tribe. When you visit the Fumban Council, almost all the staff receive you in their language. In some police stations, the same situation prevails. Go to Magba. The brigade commander is a man from the area, and the commissioner is also from the area. It is terrible. This Lalap writing. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and all the panelists in the studio. I have some friends whom, if I find myself in the position of responsibility, I will not hesitate to appoint them. Not because they are my friends, but because I know and trust that they can deliver my vision. However, I stand against tribalism and nepotism. Kwambi Luis writing from Santa. Please let the decentralization begin with ID cards. It's really appalling. I propose every region have a production center for the production of ID cards to facilitate the whole thing. It's really disturbing. And when you don't know their dialect, even in the hospital, the attention given to you changes, okay? I'm Julius from Bamenda. The issue of ID card is becoming unbearable. My ID card expired and I made a new one more than 2 years ago, and I can't get the original. If they have decided not to give it to us in the Northwest, then they should let us know. How would a police officer tell me that he has to detain me in his office just because my identification application receipt has expired and he has never thought of the reason why his institution have failed to deliver the original of my ID? What should a citizen do to have the original of his ID after going through the normal formalities to obtain one, if not for corruption? Good evening, sir. Please thank you for this program. Why can ID cards not be received just as passports? Passport can be ready for 2 days. Eric writing from Kumba. Hello, good evening to you guys. I like the way you people talk about the ID card issue. We're talking about tribalism. Once we are appointed as ministers, the first thing we do is we send motions of support to the President of the Republic for thinking about our son. It means he's made minister because he is our son. How do we create a Cameroon where people first think that they are appointed because they are competent Cameroonians and not necessarily as a means of compensating a particular people?
Mr. Kum, that is a very, very difficult issue to address, because my observation is that, in Cameroon, when people are appointed, the next thing they are thinking about is how to protect that office than to render the service for which they have been appointed to render to the people. When the president appoints somebody, the president is giving you the power, is delegating you to carry out certain assignments and provide certain services to the people of Cameroon. And in the course of most of us, when appointed, we turn around, we try to do things to pacify our bosses, our hierarchies. Instead of trying to render the service, we try to pacify our bosses and protect our position instead of trying to, to render the service to the people. And that is where the problem is, because if we're trying to deliver results from those services, you will know that your team must be made of qualified people if you want to get the required results. Because we are not results oriented, we turn around to go back to our villages, pick up people who are not qualified and put them in positions, and with such, I bet you are not going to get the required results. And that is My observation is that this tribalism, whether Apostle Ambe call it regionalism or whatever, it is one of the greatest impediments to us achieving the visions of the President 2035. Because of tribalism and nepotism, people are put in offices that they cannot handle. And if they give an assignment, Mr. Kum, that you organize this program and frame the questions we are framing and direct the questions to various people, and then you cannot do it because you are incompetent. At the end of the day, the program will not run the way it's supposed to be run. You are doing it, it will not run the way you are running it. So at the end of the day, you realize that the impact on this, on your topic, you talk about national development. The impact of tribalism on national development is very, very dangerous. In fact, we are regressing, because at the end of the day, you give offices to people who cannot handle it because of tribal lineage or relationships or regional. I mean, even when you talk, when Apostle Ambe talk about the region, but what is happening is that those that have been appointed on tribal lineage are asked to share the national cake to the regions. So at the end of the day, they may even be sitting in offices that they are not supposed to be sitting. They're incompetent. And because of tribal lineages, they may not share the cake to regions the way they are supposed to be shared. So this whole thing of tribalism, it's unfortunate that it is something that is there, has come to stay. But the impact of tribalism on national development are very, very bad. And I think we need to find ways around it. Otherwise, we are going to continue to sink, because it's unfortunate that the way God designed the world, the intelligent people who develop a project and deliver the results are not from the same tribe. They are from different. So if we have to develop projects and realize positive results, we have to be able to see into that. We get people based on competence and not based on tribal lineages.
Okay. So recruitments and other appointments should be done based on meritocracy and not necessarily because this person is from my tribe or that. Apostle Ambe, we may not be able to have one round. We have just 5 minutes to go. I'll give you 1 minute here.
Yeah, the truth is, as much as we cannot stop tribalism, I think accountability will help solve problems. If people are given responsibilities and given assignments to execute, and they choose to call members of their families who are not competent enough to do their job, the accountability will make the person appointing members of it to understand that it is not your family business, a national affair. I think if hard measures were taken against those who bring family members that fail government projects, family members that fail government assignments, I think it would have been a better way of curbing the issue concerning tribalism. That's when you will start looking for competent people to deliver, because you look in Nigeria or other countries, or America for instance, America does American lottery. This is to select the best from all countries. Americans go for the best. This American lottery, you see they give out every year. What you want to apply, you will definitely submit all your credentials. When they look into your credentials, they can know the kind of IQ you have. They will start selecting people based on their competence. That's the reason why America selects the best from the world. Other countries begin to copy from America. Like France. France's football team is Africa United. They have selected the best from Africa, and they have taken their World Cup. Whether you like it or not, it was Guinea, Cameroon, Senegal, Mali that combined to give France World Cup. But the record is that France took World Cup. And France has taken the World Cup twice under Africa United. They selected the best from other continents. America has giant strikes. Those giant strikes were not founded by Americans. They were founded by the best selected across the world. If at all we want to develop our country, we should select the best from all over the nation, and to give their best, to give the skill they have. Because this issue of tribalism, it can only be controlled if at all the persons who are given assignments to execute are brought under serious judgment in case assignments fail in their hand. Next time they will learn to employ experts, appoint experts rather than applying family members who do not have the qualification. But the issue is whether jobs are done in Cameroon or they are not done, there is no control, there is no scrutiny, there is no discipline, there is no feedback. Everybody takes somebody who does not know. I saw a video of a principal of a school who could not read. Who appointed her principal? We are yet to understand. But that's somebody running an institution. The principal could not address the public, could not read. But because the family member was probably the Minister of Education or some director somewhere, she was opportune to head a school. That kind of result should be traced who appointed the individual and serious sanctions taken upon them. Next time when you want to appoint, you appoint competence and you not appoint tribe. Because the issue is if we had a follow-up committee that went after all those who appointed family members who could not deliver, that would be another problem. Somebody gets up at the director of ENAM and makes 12 people of his village to pass an ENAM in a year. I think such a thing should be looked into consideration because it does not go with the regional balance they are talking about. Such a person should be brought to book and discipline. Next time, you'll be securing your position. But what do we lock for in this country? We don't even lock those who embezzle money. We lock those who embezzle money who are a threat to the nation. You can embezzle the money, but as long as your embezzlement does not threaten the existence of the regime in question, you are free to enjoy that money. But the moment your embezzlement threatens by any means the existing regime, that's when they will execute the law on you. That law is a law to defend and protect themselves, not to protect the nation.
One last word on this, on fixing the issue of tribalism. How does it make it? You people say it's not necessarily bad, but how do we make it to work for the interest of the nation?
I think we should encourage intertribal marriages. It is very important. Yes, I think this point should really be taken into consideration in such a way that people don't only look back. Like I heard some people complaining that when you people want to date women, you date your tribes women, but when you want to get married, you marry. It is good. And so many, I said, this should be encouraged. So that we get people much more together. If Prof. Mark gets married in the North, of course, he begins to see the Northeast as his own brothers and sisters, and you defend them. You not only be defending the people of this place. Secondly, let the government be able to distribute the public investment budget equitably, because we see regions like the South, the East, they are just chunks, very small kind of. The particular region, you find the kind of chunk of a bulk of public investment budget that is sent to that kind of region. That is tribalism in another way that we are. So the government is in one way promoting this kind of tribalism, and we think that this should be stopped. The government should encourage people. I mean, it should preach by practice. If things are distributed equitably, you know, as we are talking about regionalism, there should be regional decentralization. We are talking about it. Let it be, in fact, let those of us who are actually trying to practice it see the government practicing it, and it is going to yield a lot of fruit for Cameroonians. But if Gush or Ross, then what will Iron do? Because when we see those who we look up to, who are practicing what we preach again, and then we begin to ask ourselves, where are we heading to? Because there are those who practice it that are even condemning it. It is a pity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you too for coming. Yes. One last word, please.
Mr. Leo, to sum this thing, I want to say that if we have to deal with this, because I would say tribalism cannot be stopped. What should be done is there should be a system of accountability, a system that also goes with meritocracy, implying that even if you have to bring somebody from a tribe, let the person merit the job so that they can produce results. If we want to see this nation emerge, to grow, corruption cannot be fought if nepotism is in position. Because if somebody needs to come from another tribe to occupy that particular post, he will pay for it. That is the reason why we have corruption everywhere. So if that corruption needs to be dealt with, then accountability and meritocracy needs to be instituted as a means, a measuring rod, to be able to curb down the excesses of favoritism and nepotism.
Okay. Yes.
Thank Mr. Liu, to conclude, my opinion is that the best approach to solve this problem is to write a system in the country.
A policy.
A policy. A policy that streamlines everything. If you are doing recruitment, you recruit people without knowing them based on the documents they supply. You recruit them based on their qualification. You don't have to know people. And it should not be determined by those, it should be determined by the system. And bet me, these systems have worked in the West. They have worked wonderfully. Where it is the system that determines the process of selecting people. The process of appointment is based on a system. And when you do this, you realize that you recruit the right brains to do the right assignments, and you get the required result. I think this is the best way to come on, because we are there to live with tribalism. The only way is to write a system that will help us navigate through tribalism and select the best brains to do the best assignments and get the best results.
Just like they write the GC, you put by your code.
Yes.
Because if they know your name, your family will mark you right.
Yes.
Okay. Quinivet, we want to thank you for participating in today's edition of the program. Seemingly she's gone. We say thank you to you, Apostle Ambe, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. It's a joy to be here today to educate Cameroonians.
Okay, and also to you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Leo. And my thoughts to one from Diko, who was went to ask for his ID card and was rather, sent to a cell because he was wondering why he should be interrogated when his ID card is in Yaoundé. So he is not producing ID card. So let the government be able to do something about it. There are many cases like that.
Prof, thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Leo, for being here today and to educate Cameroonians.
Mr. Tazi, thank you for coming. Also.
Thank you, Mr. Leo, for inviting me, and we hope that these efforts pay off, that some quarters that will listen to this idea and try to, we're all Cameroonians, we all belong to Cameroon, want to fix Cameroon, want to make Cameroon look better, that we can share these ideas, they contribute to our nation building. Thank you very much again for your
Thank you to all of you who took time off to watch this edition of the program. We want to say thank you to you, Eli and Desmond. Tabi Tambe Bryant, thank you for supervising the work we do out there. Stay blessed.
Hello, bro.
Bye-bye.
Black, it's not dark, it's bright. Black is bold,